talk to you a bit about life as a PhD student this evening, because in my opinion, doing a PhD is a bit like being pregnant. I don't mean it in the sense that, you know, my brain is incubating ideas, academic brotherhood sort of nonsense. I mean it in the sense that I've developed cravings for particular types of food. And in my case, it's chocolate digestives. Now, you might say, well, hang on a minute, Nick. Chocolate digestives aren't a weird thing to want to eat at all. In fact, they play a key role in the diet of, you know, any well-adjusted resident of the island of Great Britain. And you'd be right, except for the fact that I eat them in vast, possibly unhealthy quantities. I swear, I'm like a chain smoker, but for chocolate digestives. Picture Cookie Monster, right? But with more cookies actually entering my mouth and less of the crazy eye sort of thing. I swear, by the end of my PhD, I'll probably be suffering from type 2 diabetes, or will have turned into some giant anthropomorphic chocolate biscuit, or both. Anyway, before I got into this academic pickle of mine, a lot of my friends who'd already been through all of this were telling me all sorts of gruesome horror stories. That doing a PhD is like getting married, that my supervisors would all be dictators, and that my social life would grind to a halt. So, naturally, I came into all of this a tiny bit apprehensively. Okay, so it's the end of induction week, and my supervisor comes up to me and tells me, well, Nick, you and a few other people from your course are off to Brazil for a month in February to carry out some research. February? Hang on a second. Carnival's in February. So yeah, picture that if you will. And then infamy. Of course, we only did research while over there, never even went outside. Didn't join any street parties in Belo Horizonte, didn't go to any frat parties in Ouro Preto, didn't drive our host's car with an expired license, didn't drive our host's wife's car while drunk, didn't earn the nickname Pavement, didn't get lost, arrested, and tear gassed at a football match, and didn't spend a week sunning myself on the beach in Recife. So yeah, so apart from these oddly specific things that we very definitely did not do, why were we in Brazil again? Basically, right, Brazil is big on hydropower, which, when you've got two of the biggest river systems meandering through most of your country, makes a lot of sense. So off they went, you know, plonking hydropower dams all over the place, and eventually they began to realize that fish were swimming into them, which is what fish do when you place a giant concrete structure right in the middle of their migration. And as you might guess already, when a fish swims into a turbine, things tend to happen that aren't, shall we say, very conducive to the general continued health of the fish. So yeah, what we wanted to do was find out why the fish were being killed in the turbines and what exactly was causing them to die, and then use the information we gathered to teach the people who are managing the dams to kill less fish. And one of the experiments we carried out involved finding out the strength of a swim bladder. Now, to do that, the first thing you have to do is to kill the fish by giving it an overdose of anesthetic. And the next thing you do is you open up the fish and extract the swim bladder, then you place, you know, the swim bladder on a clamp and do your business. And it it's normally advised to do it in, this order, because if you put a swim bladder onto a clamp while it's still inside the fish, it can be a bit tricky. And, I guess it's also the humane thing to do. See, one of the things I noticed while I was in Brazil was that the researchers over there tend to have a slightly cavalier attitude towards ethics. See, in Southampton, you can't just chuck a few fish into a tank and raise the pressure up to 11 just to see what happens. You'll have the ethics committee and the vegans after you in no time at all. And I'm guessing on the vegans being the worst of the two. See, we're civilized here. We care about the fish's feelings. You have to fill in a 10-page application form, prove you're doing novel research, and then resubmit about 100 times. Okay, so picture this. I'm about to carry out a swim bladder extraction on fish. I've got my gloves on, scalpels all lined up in front of me, team of nurses and anaesthetists at the ready. Fish laid out in front of me, his wife and kids waiting nervously outside. And as I'm about to make the first incision, I noticed something. The fish wasn't quite dead yet. So I point this out to my esteemed Brazilian colleague, and the resulting conversation was a lot like a reverse version of Monty Python's Dead Parrot sketch. Louise, I think there's something wrong with my fish. Oh, what's wrong with it? I think it's still alive. It's twitching. Nah, that's a reflex action. Are you sure? I know a live fish when I see one. Nah. All fish do that here. You're quite sure? It's starting to flop around a bit. No. It's stone dead. Yeah. That doesn't look right. Look at it. It's bouncing around, knocking things over. Are you sure we shouldn't put it back into the anesthetic bucket for another 10 minutes? Aha! There, see? Told you it was dead. You stuck a scalpel into its face. Of course it's dead. Solved your problem, didn't I? Right, so if anybody in the audience actually works for the ethics committee, this never happened. And I'm simply exaggerating for the sake of comic relief. So the downside to going to Brazil for a month was that at the end of the month, I had to come back to Southampton. Yeah. See, Southampton is a bit like the type of girl that has a great personality and a sister that's really, really jaw-droppingly gorgeous, Winchester. And a next-door neighbour, that's a bit easy. I'm referring, of course, to Portsmouth. It can get a bit windy here sometimes, being next to the coast and all, and my street is aligned so that when we have high winds, typically English urban items blow down like tumbleweeds. For sale signs, takeaway boxes, pregnant teenagers, the unemployed. Actually, I'm just kidding, Southampton's great, if you're a container ship. Now, you might have noticed by my horrible accent and uncouth manner, I'm not originally from the UK, I'm from Malta. And wherever I go in the UK, people are always telling me, "Oh Nick, Malta's such a lovely island, I love the weather there." We do not have weather in Malta. We have 2 seasons, hot and humid, and very hot and humid. Reptiles like that sort of weather, I'm a mammal. I can afford hot drinks, warm clothing, and the attentions of women of negotiable affections, all of which are available in the streets of Southampton. Thank you all, you've been brilliant. Have a good evening.